of Guyana alleged home of stolen loot that some strange people have gone to keep there. And anytime I talk about Guyana, I get reminded of Switzerland, one of the richest countries in the world. My brother, you know how the Swiss got rich? It is because they built a system of secrecy and integrity. And so these variables, if you like, to the rest of the world, including a few African countries ruled by some Taflache, very stupid people who bought into those variables and decided to go and keep their money there, the money that they had stolen from Africa there, because they were assured of integrity and secrecy. And in their stupidity, Taflache, they forgot that they could die. And because they forgot that they could die, most of them, they didn't tell anybody about the money that they are stolen. In terms of the quantum and how it could be assessed in the event of their death. Of course, that is what stolen money does to you. And here, I want to teach you, my cherished listeners, something. You know. When you go and open an account at a bank, we make the mistake of thinking the column where they say next of kin means that person who inherit that account when you die. What we actually need to do when we are opening an account is to request for an in case of death form or ICD. In case of death. And so go to your bank and fill out an in case of death form and put the names of people who should be, allowed or contacted to access or manage the funds in your account when you die. You can do so with a lawyer involved. Otherwise, if you are foolish or very stupid, and you steal money, and you go and hide it in the bank, and you die, that will be the end. That is how come billions of dollars stolen from Africa is sitting in banks all over Europe and America, and the descendants of the original owners do not have access to them because they don't even know that those monies have been kept there. And at the extreme end of the generation of African leaders who had severe mental challenges are people like Sani Abacha of our beloved Nigeria, who stole so much money that it was rumored, or it was estimated, that if he was spending $1 million every month, it would have taken him 250 years to finish spending the money that is alleged to have stolen and stashed in Swiss banks. So, I'm about to ponder on that for a few moments. So, I then consider the reverse. If a white man gets a ton of money, no matter how they got the money and are bringing it into Africa, it will be to acquire an asset that can make them more money. Part of that money will be used to either corrupt some people supervising our resources so that they'll give away most of those resources for a pittance after they take a hefty cut for themselves. So, like what somebody like Dr. Awa allegedly, and the alleged managers of our lithium find did. When they gave the white people very sweet deals to the detriment of we, the original and actual owners of those resources. Well, please, one of the things that Barack Obama's government should do is to go into that lithium thing and carry out innovation with whichever people were giving the whatever to bring up the lithium, and rework and rewrite that contract that we signed with them. You understand? White people will not steal money and come and hide it in an African bank. White people will steal money or they'll make money and they'll come and invest that money in Africa and aim to get 7 or 8 or 10 times that investment. They'll never steal money and come and put it in an African bank with a view to hiding it for their family and generation. You see that difference? My brother, I guess you know about the pact for the continuation of colonization in Africa, or Francophone Africa, also known as the Colonial Pact. I think it is only Guinea at the edge of the Osajifu and just a few other Francophone countries who refused to sign that pact. Now, that pact was put together when it was time for the French to exit Africa. And Taflache saw the clauses in that agreement. Taflache, they are very stupid. To the extent that even the presidential policies of the countries, some of those countries pay rent on the presidential policies that their presidents leave into France. You understand? Those who refused to sign that pact were destroyed by France before they left. Countries like Guinea, they filled up their culverts and drains with concrete and damaged the country before they left. But those who signed it, led by Félix Houphouët-Boigny of La Côte d'Ivoire, agreed to let France become like their mother central bank. As a result of which every year, a combined group of countries deposit $100 billion into French banks without fail. So every year, France gets $100 billion from these Francophone African countries, free of interest, free of charge. They now invest that money and make 300 or 400% profit on it. Yet none of that profit goes back to the countries who invested the money. Meanwhile, when those countries want to borrow their own money from the French, they have to borrow at commercial rates. Now, do you think that any African colonial power, hypothetically, which had colonized a French country, and when they were leaving, the French country in question gave them an exit clause like this, do you think they would have accepted it? So, why did our forebears like Houphouët-Boigny and those who signed that pact accept these clauses? What motivated them to say, no, we agree? I mean, you say you want to be independent. And yet you agree that some people should be keeping your money, $100 billion every year, free of charge for you. Don't you think there's something wrong? I suspect that the answer to this question lies in that speech that I read with anger and revulsion as delivered by P.W. Botha of South Africa and later re-echoed in another way by Donald Trump. P.W. Botha said in that speech in 1985, and I quote, "We do not pretend like other whites that we like blacks. The fact that blacks look like human beings and act like human beings does not necessarily make them sensible human beings. Hedgehogs are not porcupines, and lizards are not crocodiles simply because they look alike. If God wanted us to be equal to the blacks, he would have created us, all of us, a uniform color. He would have created us all of a uniform color and intellect. But he created us differently. By now, every one of us has seen it, practically, that blacks cannot rule themselves. Give them guns and they will kill each other. They are good in nothing else but making noise, dancing, marrying many wives, and indulging in sex. Let us accept that the black man is a symbol of poverty, mental inferiority, laziness, and emotional incompetence. However, we are doing the best we can to make sure that the stuff remains strictly in our hands. Secondly, most blacks are vulnerable to money inducements. I've set aside a special fund to exploit this avenue. The old trick of divide and rule is still very valid today. Our experts should wake day and night to set the black man against his fellow man. His inferior sense of morals can be exploited beautifully. And here is a creature that lacks foresight. There is the need for us to combat him in long-term projections that he cannot suspect. The average black man does not plan his life beyond a year. End quote. My brothers and sisters, this is the summary of the thinking processes of a white man about our fellow black brothers and sisters. Some of who ended up becoming leaders in a number of African countries. Now, juxtapose this speech with the conduct of the large number of those who emerged as leaders in this part of the global village, and tell me that these white racists, to some extent, were wrong. I mean, think about it. Right here in Ghana, we elected somebody who said he was building a church for God. Ended up digging a hole, which became an artificial swimming pool at a whopping cost of $58 million. Are you think about it? You think everything is okay with such a person? Anyway, thank God for the rise of Ibrahim Traore and the other strong men who have emerged to stand up to the bullies in the West and who are taking decisions that make sense. Go and see what the young man is doing in Burkina Faso. Buying tractors, has bought serious state-of-the-art weapons so that in case of an invasion and all those things, they can be able to stand and fight. And he's putting Burkina Faso on the map. Let's compare and contrast with some of the nonsense that we have had to deal with for this while. And then you are surprised that when they go into their quiet places to talk, they insult us and write this like this about this. Anyway, this is not even what I've got to talk about this evening. We shall overcome. This was just a small bit of an aside, inspired by the fact that, according to the oral team, some people in offshore locations have reached out to them to offer to help the people, or to tell them that, too, if you need our help to recover money stolen from your country and brought to us, we'll be happy to help you. I think it's beautiful. The other thing is that whenever you see Yanum furiously attacking any subject, you should know that they have been severely rattled by that thing, too. So all the attacks against oral, how it is not it doesn't have any legal backing, it is not recognized by the constitution, blah blah blah, can only mean the fact that some of the people who have approached governance from a kleptocratic perspective, not as an opportunity to save, but as an avenue to take the very best part of everything that belongs to the state, sometimes mindlessly and with maximum greed, are very, very afraid, oh. And if I was any of them, I'll be very, very afraid, my brother, because, Joe, if some of the things they carried out, some of the capers they carried out are gone into and unpacked and unraveled, my brother, it will not look good. It is dirty. I mean, beyond the fact that it is completely immoral, wrong, and immoral, that lands with bungalows on them will be demolished while civil servants are still occupying them, while in some cases some of our judges are still living in them. It does not make sense to be coveting and buying up government property. I mean, if people who served in government prior to the ones that preceded the governments that preceded that of Dr. Wawa and the Chebi Don Colonial forcefully followed what they thought was their divine right to buy property that in some cases dates back to 1957, and for a song. Would anything have been left for any other government and its operatives to come and use? If the gentlemen and ladies who served in the Rawlins's government had tried to buy up all the bungalows they lived in, such as the one later Jake later took over and sold to himself, which was occupied by the late E.T. Mensah for years, would the Kufuor government have inherited anything? So why is it that some people have no filters and no filters when it comes to especially every valuable land that belongs to the state and to we the people? Look at how they almost took over the land on which our foreign ministry sits. But for the vigilance and the nationalistic spirit of people like Professor Mills, that place would have been made up for private residences by now. That transaction in which DVLA land at 37 was moved. DVLA was moved to a traffic zone at Hacho, because individuals allegedly have bought the land, which dates back decades, and even ejected police installations there. Does it make sense? As I said previously, it marks of improper upbringing, though. You know, if you are improperly brought up, you develop a penchant for taking things which do not belong to you. That is when you start taking all kinds of things which you don't own or have any claim to by force. Especially when by your actions you try to tell other people that they are fools for not grabbing and taking over things anyhow. So well, me, I hope Oral succeeds, because a lot of people voted for this government solely on the basis of Oral. and are holding their breath. So, my brother, if even half of that $20 billion in estimated theft is recovered, it will be 3 times what the IMF gave us. And it will make it easy for us to avoid them for a while. Oh. Beyond all that, I watched an interview granted by Sedu Agongo, the gentleman behind Heritage Bank and who was at the center of the trial that saw Dr. Opuni being dragged to our courts violently like a cow through an abattoir for 8 years. And Sedu Agongo talked about the circumstances under which his bank was shut down. My brother, if you go into it, it was an unwholesome mixture of dirty pride, inflated egos, and sheer wickedness. It was as if a group of people felt that only they had the gravitas to play in a particular space, and that no other person, talk less of Taflache, somebody from, a not so valued part of this country, should have that chance. I mean, this is supposed to be a free market economy. So once any individual has that ability to penetrate the right corridors and makes money to invest in whatever they want to, there should be no filter or barrier. I don't think that anybody did anything to the promoters of what became known as the Bhutan scam. Maybe if somebody had sat back and gotten angry because somebody from the wrong part of the country had successfully scammed a few people in government and gone after their businesses and utterly destroyed them, we will not be having this conversation. My brother, there should be a way to get justice for those kinds of people who were treated in this way by a group of people who have allegedly persistently gotten away with very terrible things in this country. Oh. I understand that going after people's businesses and destroying them is a very legal and acceptable part of politics. Oh. Therefore, that energy should be retained, good measure, pressed down, shake it together, and running over. Oh. How about that? They are a group of people in Ghana today. There are a group of companies in Ghana today which should not be allowed to exist. There are a number of radio stations in Ghana today which should not be allowed to broadcast. They should all be pursued with relentless vigor and shown pepe. There are companies that flourished because they rode on the back of business that should have gone to the government and made money from it. All those money should be taken back from them. Just go into their books from 7 to 8 years ago. At this point, you got this business from this company which should have gone to this particular company. It's illegal. Can you return the money? And shake them for every red Ghana city. These things have to be done ruthlessly without any mercy. Oh. Because some people believe that Yanum behave the way they do when they are in power because nobody ever takes them on and gives them the dose of their own medicine. In spite of the fact that in the interest of inter-party cooperation, some umbrella people were nice to elephant people when they were in power and when the elephants were in opposition. When the elephants came to power, they went after them and made their lives very, very miserable. Without considering that they had been treated very nicely by those same people they were going after. It is alleged that in the same spirit, some umbrella people have been treated very, very nicely by Yanum while they were in opposition. Now that they are in power, that treatment should not stop anybody from returning the favor. We the people will be watching from our pages very, very quietly. On that note, I have to rest my case. I have to say I want good evening to other people who joined the program on Facebook, like Wood Eduje and Shaibu Yahaya, who says his problem is with the judiciary. Nilate says my program is giving Yanum, who are secretly listening, a heart attack. Somebody says they have to make some changes in the judiciary, otherwise Ora will be frustrated. Well, if you ask me, I think they should set up special tribunals and courts whose sole purpose will be to try Ora-related cases. Of course, if they take them to those ones that have been set up by Yan, well, On that note, I thank you for your kind attention. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Ever!
Ebushia, ejiwani swadi huse ubesi dain ewa fi mu ana. Enye na me kanfo Heart Builders Real Estate ede amawo. Heart Builders Real Estate eye dwumeko a wono mu etontong ensase. Won ensase ni bi ewo Shy Hills, Tripoli, enafi Ningo Pram. Enije sema ewo ho ne se. Won ensase a ewo Tripoli ene Ningo Pram no ya tete so ede aba
30,000 Ghana cedis and 25,000 Ghana